Hello, lads. It's a bit later right now, and I've had some time to reflect. And I now see that when I came out of the movie theater after having seen the movie which was released today, Dream Scenario, starring Nicolas Cage, I now see that my prediction was unwarranted. Uh, that it would be a painful experience for everyone to watch, or that the movie is just painful to watch, you know, in general. I think it was painful for me to watch it. And that is because I related so much to the main character. Um, and it was enraging what happened to him. Um, and it doesn't really afford any kind of catharsis. Unlike Joker, which I also related to a frightening extent, and I think a lot of people did, frankly. Um, I don't think I was alone there. Uh, a lot of probably mostly men, but probably some women too, related to Joker. And Joker went down much easier because, as painful as it is to watch, you are then given a catharsis. You see, you see Arthur Fleck going down this route, uh, where he's just in an awful state, and everyone is shitting on him, and you know things couldn't possibly get any worse for him. And then he like goes through this deep kind of uh, this depraved transformation. Um, you know, he enters this chrysalis and emerges as Joker, uh, who just uh, is able to do things that Arthur Fleck wasn't able to do. And so it's like in a way, I guess it's a power fantasy. Although even after he transforms into Joker, you still see Fleck's residue of Fleck, and the the God, I'm going to start gushing again, but like just in memory of it's been a while since I've seen it. But the fantastic performance that Joaquin Phoenix gives in the scene with Murray, where you see him just like his even as he's getting angry, his voice is breaking, uh, because he's still hurt. Uh, and so it's this fantastic combination of, like, he's vengeful and powerful, but he's also vulnerable, and it's just like it just grabs you, it grabs your heart. Um, and I think what made Dream Scenario is just a very different kind of movie than Joker in a lot of ways, but what made it uh, what made it more painful is, I think, there are a couple things for me. Not that it's so important. Not that I'm that important to dwell on here, but I'm just trying to noodle through my own responses to it, and you know arrive at a kind of conclusion regarding the movie. What it is objectively saying, uh, what it objectively has to say to an audience, because we all apprehend art through the lens of our own experience. And so, in that sense, our response, our reaction is subjective, and yet there is something there that we are reacting to. So, in that sense, there is an objective correlative, in the words of T.S. Eliot. if I'm using that term correctly. I'm really not actually sure that I am, but I'll just use it anyway to make myself sound smarter. An objective correlative. I think I'm using it right. There's something there that we are reacting to, and this movie parallels the experience of someone who has gone through uh, the trauma of being canceled. I put that in quotes not because it's not real, not because it doesn't happen, but just because it's like the latest thing that they call it. They didn't always call it that. They didn't call it that until like 4 or 5 years ago. But it's very, very real. It does happen, and I had that experience of being canceled and having and having people that I thought would have my back not have my back, and including people that I was close to. And it's not an experience that I would recommend for anybody who hasn't had it. Except it builds character, I guess. So, um, so so there's that to say about it. But generally speaking, it is not a pleasant experience. Now, the movie is quite brilliant in the sense that it references cancel culture without really uh, making this guy into anything in particular that is cancelable. Um, he's an academic. He's lived in academia, and he's done fine in academia. Um, I talked before about how he's like a schlub or a loser, and he's wears these dumpy clothes. It's pretty hilarious, the wardrobe that he's got, and just the way that the paunch that he's got, and just how they uglify Nick Cage. I think he might Nick Cage might look more like this guy does. you know, if you see him in actual life, I get the feeling that maybe he gets prettied up nowadays for his movies. But he's always been a kind of like, I know he was a sex symbol for a while, and then he became this for a while he became this sort of this meme, and just like sort of went from being this revered actor to being seen as just this like over the top uh, uh, weirdo. um, just this weirdly affected uh, sort of sort of farcical version of his former self. So he's had an interesting career in that respect, and now he's kind of coming around again with a certain self consciousness about himself, and it seems like that's part of what's informing his performance in this movie, because he just looks, like I said, he's just they do the best they can to make him look as unattractive as they can. Um, and he is a schlubby guy, and you know pitiful in some ways. But on the other hand, he lives in a very nice house. He seems to have a successful career. Uh, he's got an attractive. I mean, she's old. She's older. She's his age, but she's still fairly attractive wife. And and two daughters. So it's not like he's just this incel type at all. So a lot of the reviews, the people, I've gone around watching reviews from YouTube people, YouTube reviewers, and reading a few things, and a lot of them just sort of accentuate or emphasize his dorkiness and his dumpy, uh, you know, schlumpy kind of look. But he's not that pathetic really. And he's got a PhD. He teaches at a university. It's a job that he's held for a while. When we see him teaching, he's got a fairly engaging teaching style. But at the same time, you're aware that nobody really respects him all that much. That he's kind of a joke, or kind of a just a you know. For example, like even in the first scene, before anything weird happens in the movie, in the very first scene, uh, there are a couple people talking, just having a conversation while he's teaching his lecture, and it's like they just don't think anything of it. It's like he says, "Excuse me," and I mean, I've taught before. I know how disrespectful that is. Uh, it's not a respect my authority kind of thing. It's like, look, just don't be a dick. Look, don't have a conversation with your friend while someone's teaching a class. That's just that's just not showing him any kind of respect. So he's that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy who gets snubbed by colleagues. Like there's a particular colleague who has dinner parties and doesn't ever invite him or his wife to these dinner parties, even though he invites other people that they know. But as I said, his response to people like that is is somewhat pitiable, just because he has this kind of envy, this kind of resentment, this wish to be living a more fulfilling life, or having a more fulfilling sort of career, or being recognized more. He's aware that people, others are getting published, and he's not been able to publish anything. And he's aware that this one colleague, as I said before, stole his ideas. But he's instead of being directly confrontational about it, and then just letting it, instead of just saying, look, instead of going out on a coffee date under the pretense of being friends, but just thinking that this supposed friend of his will apologize for stealing his ideas and not giving him credit, just thinking it'll happen on its own. The manly way to deal with that is to just say, look, you stole my ideas. I don't appreciate that. I don't respect that at all, and I don't want to be your friend, unless you tell people these are my ideas, that you should have given me credit for them. And then, if they deny it, if they say you're crazy, you're nuts, you're an egomaniac, those ideas weren't yours, and you know they're lying, you know that they're just not even having the respect to level with you about something like that, then you say, okay, fine, and you cut them out. You cut them out of your life. You don't have somebody like that in your life anymore. You refuse to have them around you, and perhaps you pursue a legal avenue, but maybe not. Maybe that would just be too taxing, both financially and psychologically, and you just don't want to bother with it. And so then you just let it go. You cut that person out. You let it go, and you move on. That's not that's not how Nick Cage's character deals with things like that. He's a petty, passive aggressive kind of person who just gets walked all over and disrespected, and doesn't do anything about it, except passive aggressively whinge every now and then, about things about ways that in which he has legitimately been wronged, but because he won't stand up for himself, no one respects him. Now, where the story gets upsetting, where it got upsetting for me, is after the twist. The if you see the preview, what you know about the movie is that suddenly everybody's having dreams about Nicolas Cage, and at first all of these dreams are just that he's just in them, but he's not doing much of anything. He's just sort of being passive and not doing anything, including in situations where there's a lot of danger about. Um, and he's just oblivious to it. And his daughter has a dream about being in danger, and he's just there, and he just tells her, "Don't worry, honey, it's okay." And he just stands around. Um, so at first, though, he's in people's dreams. He becomes the celebrity because for some reason he's turned up in people's dreams, and it's never really explained why. But it's sort of like he's the most mediocre kind of person around. Like he's not somebody he's not visually arresting. He's not charismatic uh, or anything like that. So he's not somebody you would think would be captivating enough to people to appear in their dreams. But he's people, even strangers, start to see him in their dreams, and so he becomes this celebrity, this semi-celebrity. But then after he does something that he shouldn't do, or tries to do something that he shouldn't do, and that which results in disaster, then at that moment, as if to punish him for this act, which he wasn't even able to perform, um, but as almost as a kind of punishment for that, then he suddenly becomes this hateful figure in people's dreams. He's attacking people, strangling them, raping them, just saying terrible things to them, and so to the point where people are traumatized by his very presence. So as before, when he was just a nobody to them. Uh, he when he appeared in their dreams, that it didn't really affect them much one way or the other, except maybe they were kind of annoyed that he wasn't doing anything. But now he's doing things, but he's doing terrible things to them. And this is what's really brilliant about the movie is that it 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 holds a mirror up to cancel culture without directly referencing cancel culture. Um, in that, this guy's he's not a controversial guy with controversial ideas who gets shunned because of his ideas, or his ideas get people say things. Oh, people call him a racist or a sexist or homophobic or whatever. Transphobic, whatever. It's nothing like that. He doesn't really have ideas that are controversial. It's just the fact that people aren't people people aren't comfortable with being around him because they're because they've been uh, traumatized by their dreams of him, and it's completely ridiculous. But nobody stands up for him. Um, that's really the frustrating thing, and that's what I keyed in on, and that's what I related to in a painful sort of way. Not that nobody ever stood up for me, but people that I thought would stand up for me didn't. And again, that includes people that I thought, people that I loved, um, and that's like a kind of betrayal. It's not betrayal like they're stabbing you in the back themselves. But it's a kind of betrayal where they think, where it's like, I'm 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 embarrassed to be around you because um, because people hate you. People out there hate you and think that you're X, Y, and Z. Um, he gets that same kind of treatment, and nobody stands up for him. He and of course it's supposed. I get that it's like a it's it's not meant to be realistic. It's not meant to reflect reality in the sense that, it's a very surreal kind of premise, from start to finish. So maybe you know the absolute uh, nature of his rejection by society, and how like how he like his the middle school where his daughter is performing in a play. uh, they tell him that he's not allowed to go into the auditorium to see her perform in her play, because people just aren't comfortable. We have to respect their feelings, and like it's like that's what this whole being canceled is all about. That's what it ultimately boils down to. That's what you get told a lot. It doesn't really matter what you mean. It matters how they, you know, if they're offended, then that's that's enough. If they uh, take it a certain way, even if they're grossly misinterpreting you, or even if they're lumping you together with other people who you actually don't share the same beliefs as, but they lump you together with them, and they they even do mention they mention the alt right. The word alt right is used in this movie. I won't say exactly who or when. It's not really important, but the fact that it gets used at all, it's just like, wow. This thing that I was a part of that nobody cared about for a while. I mean, for years, it was just the scene that you know I was a part of, and of course, it was edgy. It was going against the mainstream uh, doctrines and opinions and beliefs, and uh, and so forth. But it was only all of a sudden it just became, you were leprous. Uh, you were like somebody who'd been identified as a witch in Salem, and there was just this hysterical backlash that developed against you, with people who didn't know who the hell you were and didn't care. Just a short time prior. Uh, so you know, and of course nowadays, you don't have to be alt right. You can be liberal in every single way possible, except be against the vaccine, against forced mandates, or question the the scamdemic, or I don't know, be against giving money to Ukraine, or just go against the current thing. Then you become to them the same as the alt right, uh, and it's gotten more and more ridiculous. Uh, but in any case, I think the way the movie uh, discuss or brings up the subject of cancel culture without actually, you know, actually being about, or actually presenting somebody who has dangerous ideas, or ideas that are thought to be dangerous, or hateful, or problematic, or whatever. No, it's just the fact that suddenly he's in people's dreams doing bad things to them in their dreams, you know. And now, like the dean of his school says, well, you know what, we need to maybe I don't know if he actually gets fired or what, but he can't teach anymore. He can't be on campus anymore. The dean, who was this kind of friend of his, agrees to put him up after he's been kicked out of his house. He agrees to let him sleep in his basement. He can't even sleep on the couch. He has to sleep in the basement, where he can smell the propane. And he can't turn off the lights. I'm laughing about it now. I can assure you I wasn't laughing when this was happening. There are some funny moments of the movie, but the more it went on, especially down this stretch, the less I was laughing, and the more angry and sad, and just the more I was in my feels, because it paralleled my experience in so many ways. Not to the same extent. Not, I wasn't shunned to the extent that he is. It's like I said, the movie is surreal, and so there's a kind of hyperbolic quality to the action. But I mean, the fact that parents don't want him to be there because they're not comfortable with him being there, and so the administration just caves to the people who aren't comfortable. They cave to the offended people instead of just saying to them, "Look, you're gonna have to nut up. Uh, this guy wants to see his daughter. He has every right to see his daughter perform in a middle school play, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to come. If you don't like him being there, then you don't have to. Then maybe you can just stay home. Like, somebody needs to stand up for him and say, he hasn't even done anything to you. It's just been your dreams. He's not responsible for what he does in your dreams." Um, but that doesn't happen. And there's a scene where all of his students react to to him being traumatized, or to their trauma in this typical cancel culture sort of way, this all too typical way. And they're mollycoddled, and they're told, "Okay, we respect your feelings, but here's a picture of," like, they try to I don't know, apply some kind of therapy to help them uh, feel comfortable with his presence again, and it doesn't work. They all run away terrified, and it's so much. It references these hysterical reactions whenever someone slightly to the right of Stalin speaks on a college campus, the way that uh, some of those types behave. It references that without bringing up any controversial ideas. In that way, again, the movie is quite brilliant, I have to say. So the way the movie ends, I don't want to give away the ending, but it's not the bleakest possible ending. Um, there is a kind of, like eventually things calm down, and he's able to sort of find a niche uh, in France. For some reason. France uh, is where he winds up, because for some reason everybody's getting offended everywhere by him except in France. In France, they really like him. So, uh, That's kind of ironic coming after Napoleon, the controversy over Napoleon. But it's sort of the French as these I don't know, gadflies of opinion, or these stubborn people who go against the grain. So anyway, he's able to sort of rebound in a way, but he still loses a whole lot and doesn't gain it back. And the ending, I mean, it does leave you with this bitter taste in your mouth, or it did me. Um, and so that's why I had the kind of reaction that I did to it. I think it's a good movie. I think I would recommend it. Um, but again, it's like I think even if you don't react quite like I did, I think it's a very discomforting movie. It reminds me a little bit of Beau is Afraid uh, from earlier this year, which I reviewed, the Ari Aster movie that. And in fact, Ari Aster I saw is one of the producers of this movie. It also kind of reminded me of some of the early Charlie Kaufman movies, like Being John Malkovich. It had that same kind of feel, although I didn't really care for that movie. I think this was better, actually, but it has that same surreal uh, tone, uh, dark comedy, also, and satire and surreality in general. So it was rough for me to watch because I related to the main character, as I have already said. But these are just my more considered thoughts after you know when I left when I just got out of the movie. I wanted to get my thoughts down just in some kind of raw form because I felt like it. I don't know. I felt like it was a valuable thing to do just because I don't usually have that kind of extremely visceral response. So there you go. There you have it. So see it if you dare. Dream Scenario, starring Nick Cage. Directed by some Danish guy. I don't know his name off the top of my head right now. See it.